The room was electric with anticipation, filled with tech enthusiasts, journalists, and dreamers. The annual Global Innovation Summit had reached its peak, and Elon Musk stood on stage, his presence commanding attention. Dressed in a simple black shirt and jeans, he looked more like a visionary thinker than the billionaire CEO the world knew him to be. The audience hung on his every word as he spoke about rockets, artificial intelligence, and the future of humanity. "We're not just building technology," Elon said, his voice calm but filled with conviction. "We're building a future where humanity can thrive, not just survive." The crowd erupted into applause, but Elon wasn't finished. He opened the floor for questions, and hands shot up across the room. Journalists asked about Mars colonization, engineers inquired about Neuralink, and investors pressed him on Tesla's next big move. Elon answered each question with his trademark blend of wit and wisdom. But there was one question no one saw coming. Near the back of the room, a small figure stepped up to the microphone. She was no older than 10, dressed in a simple blue dress with her hair tied in a neat ponytail. In her hands, she clutched a handmade sign that read, "Dream big, be kind." The room fell silent as she stood on her tiptoes to reach the mic. "Hi, Mr. Musk," she began, her voice trembling but clear. "My name is Mia, and I have a question for you." Elon leaned forward, his expression softening as he looked at her. "Go ahead, Mia," he said, his tone gentle. Mia took a deep breath, her small hands gripping the edges of her sign. "What's the most important thing you've ever learned?" The room seemed to hold its breath. It wasn't a question about rockets or robots or billion-dollar companies. It was simple, profound, and utterly unexpected. Even Elon paused, his usual quick wit momentarily replaced by a look of deep thought. For a moment, there was silence. The audience exchanged glances, some smiling, others leaning forward in their seats. Cameras clicked, capturing the scene, but no one dared to interrupt. Elon straightened up, his eyes never leaving Mia. "That's a big question," he said, his voice quieter now, almost reflective. "Let me tell you a story." The room buzzed with curiosity. What could Elon Musk, the man who had revolutionized industries and dreamed of colonizing Mars, possibly say to a little girl with a simple question? Mia stood still, her wide eyes fixed on him, waiting. The audience leaned in, their anticipation palpable. This wasn't just another tech conference moment. This was something different, something real. And as Elon began to speak, the world watched, captivated by the power of a single question and the unexpected humanity of a man who had always seemed larger than life. Elon Musk stood on the stage, his gaze distant, as if he were looking not at the audience but at a memory from long ago. The room was silent, every ear tuned to his next words. "When I was about your age, Mia," he began, his voice softer now, "I grew up in South Africa. It wasn't an easy childhood. I was different. I didn't fit in." He paused, his eyes narrowing slightly as he recalled the past. "I was bullied a lot. Kids can be cruel, you know. They'd tease me for being too quiet, too curious, too me. I didn't understand why they didn't like me. I just wanted to learn, to build things, to dream." The audience was spellbound. This wasn't the Elon Musk they were used to, the confident, almost larger-than-life figure who spoke of colonizing Mars and building electric cars. This was a man reflecting on a time when he felt small, vulnerable, and alone. "One day," Elon continued, "it got really bad. A group of kids cornered me after school. They pushed me around, called me names, and left me lying in the dirt. I remember sitting there, my knees scraped, my books scattered, feeling like I didn't belong anywhere." He looked down for a moment, as if the memory still carried a weight. Then he raised his head, his eyes meeting Mia's. "But something happened that day that changed me forever. A teacher, Mrs. van der Merwe found me. She didn't just help me up. She sat with me right there on the ground and said something I'll never forget. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Even the journalists had stopped typing, their fingers hovering over their keyboards. Elon's voice grew quieter, almost a whisper. She said, "Elon, the world doesn't need more geniuses. It needs more kindness." He let the words hang in the air, their simplicity cutting through the noise of the world outside. At the time, I didn't fully understand what she meant. I thought being smart, being successful, was the most important thing. But over the years, her words kept coming back to me. They still do. He glanced at the audience, his expression thoughtful. "You see, Mia, I've built rockets, electric cars, and companies that people said were impossible. But the truth is, none of that matters if we forget to be kind, if we forget to care about each other." Mia stood still, her eyes wide, her small hands clutching her sign. The audience watched her, their hearts swelling with emotion. This wasn't just a story about Elon Musk. It was a lesson for everyone in the room. Elon took a step closer to the edge of the stage, his voice steady but filled with quiet intensity. "That's what I've learned, Mia. The most important thing isn't how much you achieve or how far you go. It's how you treat people along the way. It's the kindness you show, even when it's hard, even when the world doesn't seem to deserve it." The room erupted into applause, but Elon held up a hand, silencing them. He wasn't finished. "You asked me a simple question, Mia," he said, his eyes locking with hers. "But it's one of the hardest to answer. Because kindness isn't something you can measure or build. It's something you live. And if there's one thing I hope you take away from today, it's this: never stop being kind, no matter what." The applause came again, louder this time, but Mia didn't clap. She just stood there, her eyes glistening with tears, as if she understood something far beyond her years. Elon smiled softly, his usual confidence replaced by something warmer, more human. "Thank you, Mia," he said, "for reminding me and all of us what really matters." As the applause died down, the camera panned to Mia, still standing by the microphone. Her cheeks were flushed, and her hands trembled slightly as she clutched her handmade sign. The spotlight seemed too big for her small frame, but there was a quiet strength in her eyes that captivated the room. Elon had returned to his seat, but the audience's attention remained fixed on Mia. She wasn't just a little girl with a question anymore. She was the heart of the moment, the reason everyone in the room felt a little more human. Mia took a deep breath, her voice soft but steady as she began to speak. "Thank you, Mr. Musk," she said, her words carrying a weight far beyond her years. "I didn't think you'd answer me like that." The audience chuckled softly, but Mia wasn't finished. She looked down at her sign, her fingers tracing the words, "Dream big, be kind." Then she looked up, her eyes meeting Elon's. "I asked you that question because I needed to know if someone like you still believes in kindness." The room fell silent again, the weight of her words sinking in. Mia's voice trembled, but she pressed on. "I live in a small town with my mom. It's just the two of us. She works really hard, 2 jobs actually, so we can make ends meet. Sometimes it feels like we're invisible, like no one sees us." Her words hung in the air, raw and unfiltered. The audience leaned in, their earlier curiosity replaced by a deep sense of empathy. "I first heard about you, Mr. Musk, when I watched a documentary about SpaceX," Mia continued. "You were talking about going to Mars, about making the world a better place, and I thought, if someone can dream that big, maybe I can too." She paused, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But it's hard to dream when you feel alone, when you feel like the world doesn't care about you. That's why I made this sign." She held it up, the words, "Dream big, be kind," shining under the stage lights. "I wanted to remind myself, and everyone else, that dreams don't mean anything if we're not kind to each other. And I wanted to ask you, Mr. Musk, because I thought if someone as smart and successful as you still believes in kindness, then maybe there's hope for the rest of us." The room was utterly still. Even the journalists, usually quick to capture every moment, seemed frozen in place. Mia's words had cut through the noise, stripping away the layers of technology, ambition, and success to reveal something far more important: the human heart. Elon stood up, his usual confidence replaced by a quiet humility. He walked back to the edge of the stage, his eyes never leaving Mia. "Mia," he said, his voice gentle but firm, "you're braver than most people I know, and you're absolutely right. Kindness is what makes dreams worth pursuing." Mia's lips trembled, but she managed a small smile. "Thank you," she whispered. The audience erupted into applause, but it wasn't for Elon this time. It was for Mia, the little girl who had reminded them all of what truly matters. As the clapping subsided, Elon crouched down, bringing himself to Mia's eye level. "Mia," he said, his voice soft but filled with conviction, "you've inspired me today, and I want to show you something. Will you come with me?" Mia's eyes widened, and she nodded, her small hand reaching for his. The audience watched in awe as Elon led her off the stage, the spotlight following them until they disappeared behind the curtains. The audience buzzed with curiosity as Elon and Mia disappeared behind the stage. Cameras followed them, capturing every moment, but the real magic was happening out of sight. Backstage, the usual chaos of a tech conference had given way to an almost reverent silence. Crew members stepped aside, their eyes wide with awe, as Elon led Mia through a maze of equipment and cables. Mia's small hand gripped Elon's larger one, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nervousness. She had no idea where they were going, but she trusted him. There was something about the way he had looked at her on stage, like she mattered, like her words had truly touched him. "Where are we going, Mr. Musk?" Mia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Elon glanced down at her, a faint smile playing on his lips. "You'll see," he said, his tone warm but mysterious. "It's something I think you'll like." They turned a corner, and Mia's eyes widened. In front of her was a sleek, futuristic-looking device, about the size of a small car. It was covered in solar panels, and its design was unlike anything she had ever seen. "What is it?" Mia asked, her curiosity overtaking her shyness. Elon knelt beside her, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "This," he said, "is a prototype for a solar-powered generator. It's designed to bring clean, affordable energy to communities that don't have access to electricity. Places like your town, Mia." Mia's breath caught in her throat. She stepped closer, her small fingers brushing against the smooth surface of the device. "You made this?" she asked, her voice filled with wonder. Elon nodded. "Not just me, a team of incredible people who believe in making the world a better place. But you know what inspired this project?" Mia shook her head, her eyes never leaving the device. "Kindness," Elon said simply. "The idea that we can use technology not just to make money or build empires, but to help people, to make their lives a little easier, a little brighter." Mia turned to look at him, her eyes glistening with tears. "That's amazing," she whispered. Elon smiled, but there was a seriousness in his eyes. "Mia, you reminded me today why I do what I do. It's not just about rockets or electric cars or even Mars. It's about people. It's about kindness. And I want you to be part of this." Mia's eyes widened. "Me? But I'm just a kid." Elon chuckled softly. "Some of the best ideas come from kids. You've already shown more courage and wisdom than most adults I know. I want you to help us spread the word about this project. To remind people that technology isn't just about the future. It's about the present. It's about helping people right now." Mia's heart swelled with pride. She had never felt so important, so seen. "I'd love to," she said, her voice steady now. Elon stood up, extending his hand to her. "Then let's go tell the world." Hand in hand, they walked back toward the stage. The audience, still buzzing with anticipation, erupted into applause as they reappeared. The spotlight followed them, illuminating not just Elon and Mia, but the message they carried: that kindness and innovation could change the world. Elon stepped up to the microphone, his hand resting gently on Mia's shoulder. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice filled with a quiet intensity. "Today, a young girl reminded me of something we all too often forget. That the future isn't just about technology, it's about humanity, it's about kindness, and it's about dreams, big dreams like the ones Mia has." He paused, looking down at Mia. "Mia, I want you to know that your dreams matter, and I want everyone here to know that kindness isn't just a nice idea, it's a necessity. It's what makes everything else possible." The room erupted into applause once more, but this time it wasn't just for Elon or Mia, it was for the idea they represented, that even in a world driven by technology and ambition, kindness could still be the most powerful force of all. The applause was deafening as Elon and Mia stood on stage, the spotlight casting a warm glow over them. The audience was on their feet, their cheers echoing through the grand hall. But Elon wasn't finished. He raised a hand, signaling for quiet, and the room slowly settled into an expectant hush. "Thank you," Elon said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "But before we wrap up, there's one more thing I'd like to share." He turned to Mia, who was still clutching her sign, her eyes wide with wonder. "Mia, you've inspired me today in a way I didn't expect, and I want to do something to show you and everyone here that kindness isn't just a word, it's an action." The audience leaned forward, their curiosity piqued. Even Mia looked up at him, her small face a mix of confusion and hope. Elon gestured to someone off stage, and a large screen behind them flickered to life. The image that appeared was a map of the world, dotted with glowing points of light. "This," Elon said, pointing to the map, "is a project we've been working on for the past year. It's called Kindness Energy. The goal is simple: to bring clean, affordable energy to communities that need it most. Places where people like Mia and her mom live, places that often get overlooked." The room erupted into murmurs of excitement. Cameras flashed, and journalists scrambled to take notes. But Elon wasn't done. "Today," he continued, his voice growing stronger, "I'm announcing that we're launching the first phase of Kindness Energy in Mia's hometown. We'll be installing solar-powered generators, providing free energy to families and creating jobs for the community." Mia's hands flew to her mouth, her eyes filling with tears. "Really?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the growing buzz in the room. Elon nodded, his smile warm and genuine. "Really. And Mia, I want you to be our ambassador for this project. You'll help us spread the word, share your story, and remind people why kindness matters." The audience erupted into applause once more, but Mia didn't hear it. She was too overwhelmed, too caught up in the moment. Her small frame trembled as she looked up at Elon, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you," she said, her voice breaking. "Thank you so much." Elon crouched down, bringing himself to her eye level. "No, Mia," he said softly. "Thank you. You reminded me, and everyone here, that the future isn't just about technology. It's about people. It's about kindness." He stood up, turning back to the audience. "Let this be a reminder to all of us. No matter how big our dreams, no matter how far we go, kindness is what makes it all worthwhile. Let's not just dream big, let's be kind." The room exploded into cheers, the sound reverberating through the hall. But for Mia, the noise faded into the background. All she could see was the map behind her, the glowing dot that represented her hometown. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen. She felt hopeful. As the applause died down, Elon took Mia's hand and led her off the stage. The cameras followed, capturing every moment, but Mia didn't notice. She was too busy dreaming, not just for herself, but for her community, for the world. The days that followed the Global Innovation Summit were a whirlwind. Videos of Mia's question and Elon's response went viral, spreading across social media like wildfire. Headlines screamed, "Little Girl's Question Stuns Elon Musk and the World," and "Kindness Energy, How a 10-year-old Inspired a Billionaire to Change the World." But for Mia, life didn't change overnight. She returned to her small town, her handmade sign still clutched in her hands, and told her mom everything that had happened. Her mother's eyes filled with tears as she hugged Mia tightly. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "You've done something amazing." Meanwhile, Elon's team wasted no time. Within weeks, the first solar-powered generators arrived in Mia's town. Crews worked tirelessly to install them, and soon, homes that had once relied on candles and kerosene lamps were lit by clean, renewable energy. The community gathered to celebrate, their faces glowing with gratitude and hope. Mia stood at the center of it all, her small frame dwarfed by the crowd but her presence undeniable. She had become a symbol of hope, not just for her town, but for the world. People sent her letters, thanking her for reminding them of the power of kindness. Schools invited her to speak, and she did, her voice steady and her message clear. Dream big, but never forget to be kind. Elon kept his promise, too. He stayed in touch with Mia, calling her regularly to check on the progress of the Kindness Energy project. "You're doing an incredible job," he told her during one call. "You're changing lives, Mia. Never forget that." But the impact of Mia's question went far beyond her town. Across the globe, people began to share stories of kindness, small acts that had made a big difference. A teacher in India started a program to provide free meals to students. A businessman in Brazil donated solar panels to a remote village. A teenager in Canada organized a fundraiser to help families in need. It was as if Mia's question had sparked a movement, a ripple effect of kindness that spread from person to person, community to community. And at the heart of it all was a simple truth. Kindness wasn't just a nice idea, it was a necessity. Months later, Mia stood on another stage, this time at a global conference on renewable energy. She was older now, her voice a little stronger, her confidence a little brighter, but her message was the same. "When I asked Mr. Musk what the most important thing he'd ever learned was," she began, her eyes scanning the audience, "I didn't know it would change my life. I didn't know it would change so many lives. But it did, because kindness isn't just something we say, it's something we do, every day." The audience erupted into applause, but Mia wasn't finished. "So, I want to ask you all a question," she said, her voice steady and clear. "What's the most important thing you've ever learned? And how can you use it to make the world a better place?" The room fell silent, the weight of her words sinking in, and then, slowly, people began to stand. One by one, they rose to their feet, their applause growing louder and louder until it filled the room. Mia smiled, her heart swelling with pride. She had started with a simple question, but it had become so much more. It had become a reminder to dream big, to be kind, and to never underestimate the power of one small voice. As she stepped off the stage, she looked up at the sky, the same sky that Elon Musk dreamed of reaching, and for the first time, she felt like she was already there. As Mia stepped off the stage, the applause still ringing in her ears, she felt a sense of peace she had never known before. Her journey had started with a simple question, but it had become so much more. It had become a movement, a reminder that kindness, no matter how small, could change the world. And now, it's your turn. What's the most important thing you've ever learned? How will you use it to make a difference? Share your story with us. Let's keep this ripple of kindness going, one act, one word, one dream at a time. Because the future isn't just about technology or ambition. It's about humanity. It's about kindness. And it starts with you.